planning and coordination to ensure that equity concerns are met. Thirdly, with respect to financing, while we know that there is a huge demand on our budgets for several things, and 1.8% is actually our expenditure, but the NFC has transferred. NFC has transferred large resources to the provinces.
Higher Education Commission. Politically, people believe that the Pakistan People's Party is hostile to the HEC because of the fake degrees.
No, I don't think that's correct at all. I would say that it was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Shaheed. Let me correct the record for history. He created the University Grants Commission. He gave tremendous importance. He is the first Prime Minister of this country that gave recognition and importance to higher education, research, the number of universities that were...
So why are you dissolving the HEC?
It's not the government that is dissolving the HEC. Let me also be clear on that. The emphasis on science, technology, engineering, research and higher education is frankly very much part of the Pakistan People's Party
I'm going to rush you a bit, Ms. Wazirli. We're short of time and Dr. Mohmand hasn't spoken.
It's the implementation committee that is
of the 18th Amendment
that has looked at HEC and feels that most of the functions of HEC can go to the provinces.
Okay.
I feel that certain functions will be rational, it will be advisable and rational if certain critical functions are retained at the federal level,
okay. Now,
in the same way as
Mohmand,
in the Ministry of Education.
Dr. Mohmand, maybe this was, it's just striking me now that when we talk about sending education off to the provinces, we didn't really concentrate on it, and now I'm seeing all kinds of problems with it.
Well, you know, if you do not do your homework properly and you start doing things, then of course things will come up like that, and you can call it teething problems, but they are more than teething problems. So what you need to do is that, and then when they say that we are not trying to dissolve HEC, but in essence they are actually trying to do the same thing. So what they really need to do is that they have to first see what are the problems that will actually be happening because of 18th Amendment, and there are certain things they really have to undo within 18th Amendment as well.
Or they're fixable. I don't think you can undo the 18th Amendment.
You can not undo. What I mean was you can mold it according to what,
like you can have a special national committee
and I totally agree with Ahsan Iqbal Sahab that we really have to see this, and if something can be done and the government is here, they need to see into this problem of actually giving it to the provinces, then having a problem which probably at that time would not be able to be solved. So they really need to look into this thing.
Yeah. And one question also to Dr. Mohmand, I don't want to lose sight of that. One of the things that Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani also said today was that the root cause of terrorism is illiteracy and lack of education and lack of facilities, whatever. And he talked about FATA in particular in remote areas. Do you think that was a fair assessment, that lack of facilities and education and lack of everything in FATA pushes people towards extremism?
You see, if you go back towards now over here, if you really want to see the things that really bring up extremism or terrorism, all those 11 people who were involved in 9/11, none of them were uneducated, none of them were, you know, sort of illiterate or were deprived of anything. They were all highly, you know, paid and well-to-do people.
Well, they were not Pakistanis also, they were mainly Saudi citizens.
But at the end of the day, they are motivated from something else. Now, yes, it is sometimes easy to lure these people who cannot judge for themselves certain rights from the wrongs. Yes, it is easier for that. And of course, with the education, not only we will bring the extremism to the, or we will check the extremism, but at the same time, by bringing in the education, we will be able to make the people choose the right leaders as well. They will have, so that would be another important aspect of education. So all in all, education is very important in every way for a nation to prosper. And we really have to work towards bringing an emergency within the education. It should be taken like an emergency thing, not to be taken, you know, as something which is going to evolve next 5, 6, 7 years. if you see the example of let's say Chile and Brazil, they have bring the change within 3 years or within 2 years, and that is also in their own report.
I think we are preaching to the converted here, because Ms. Wazir Ali is
I think
but Ms. Wazir, let me ask you one very crucial question over here. Things that are troubling me, and I don't want that to get lost, go away rather. The textbooks that the British Prime Minister has talked about, that's likely to create potential snags. Let me leave it at that, because there's always been this issue with the Mutahida Majlis Amal government when it existed in the Khyber, what was in the NWFP province, the content of textbooks. Now textbooks coming, we know there are problems here. How are we going to deal with them?
Now, Qatrina, when we say that the UK is going to give very, very large quantum of financial support to Pakistan, it is Pakistan that is going to do all of these things. It's not the UK
Oh, so Britain
teams.
won't just send the textbooks?
Absolutely not. Let me make it absolutely clear. The curriculum is Pakistani, the textbooks will be developed in Pakistan, it will be according to the curriculum of Pakistan, and if, as it has been decided by the implementation committee, that curriculum goes to the provinces will determine their curriculum, the textbooks will be written here, the teacher training is going to be done in Pakistan. It isn't as that the UK teams are going to come over here and build thousands of schools and train thousands of teachers.
I don't think I would be prejudiced if I say that the British system of education is the finest in the world.
I think it is certainly one of the best in the world, but if you were to talk to the Japanese, their system is remarkable, absolutely. Okay. Take a look at the Chinese system of education. Look at what China has done today. It is the leading economic power in the world. Look at where Brazil is going today. So I think that if you're looking at, but you know, I want to come back to one or two very quickly on one or two fundamental issues. I think this whole issue of devolution, you know, even prior to the 18th Amendment, schools and colleges lay firmly within the mandate of the provincial governments.
Absolutely.
What has happened now is some other functions that lay in the federal government, in the ministry, have been transferred to the provinces, so that as a coherent approach, the provinces now have total jurisdiction. And I would say this, that, you know, Dr. Saab had mentioned a while ago, that how do you know that effective teaching is taking place and what children are learning and so forth. The provinces have examination systems which, by the way, have been implemented in Class 5. There's an end of Class 5 examination. There are merit-based recruitment policies in place. There is management reform also taking place. Schools are receiving fairly large-scale inputs with respect to improvement of quality. It's not sufficient. It is not enough. I mean, I think everybody knows, and there is consensus across the country, that the challenge is still there. But to say that nothing is happening, I don't think that's a correct reflection. Each and every one of the provincial governments has a detailed education sector plan. We don't have adequate resources to finance everything. That is correct. And we are making an effort to ensure, through the resource mobilization, that financing for education is ensured. But frankly, this is a question of society. We as Pakistanis have to determine and have to make sure that everyone pays their taxes, so that the government has enough money.
I agree.
And I will come
the
back
reason
to that.
I laugh is because, you know, I mean, it's obvious. We have to pay.
Yeah.
But the reason why people don't pay their taxes, Dr. Mohmand, is they feel that they don't get anything in return. And it's not just this government, let's face it. This is a state of affairs for the past 20 years.
Yeah, the government is providing free schooling to every single child in the public sector system. So let me say this, that the government of Pakistan, the provinces, 23.5 million children that are in schools today do not pay any fee. They get free textbooks. There's a free textbook policy across Pakistan today.
But Ms.
All
Wazir,
children
that's
get free
not happening
textbooks.
on the ground.
No, it is happening on the ground. Qatrina, I am out in the field, and I'd be more than happy to take you. Even in the remotest parts of Pakistan today, children do have a government textbook in their hands. What you might say, and one can be critical of the fact, that maybe the textbook is not as well printed as it could be, but certainly free textbooks are distributed.
I think that's where the low-level corruption comes in, where the schools are selling the books
No,
and
no,
stuff.
no, I don't think so. Who's interested in a primary school textbook? You know, these textbooks
they're selling
are
it to
provided.
the kids.
No, they're not selling
They're not selling them.
I don't think that's
I
true.
hear complaints about that. If I hear any more, we'll pass them on. Dr. Mohmand, another very crucial question to you. Oh, I'm being told it's time for me to take a break. I'm going to take a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to touch on some of these very important issues and return to the issue that I said we would, which is standardization of curriculum and education standards across the country. If we don't know that now, we may not be able to go back and fix it. This and more after a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Witness. Dr. Mohmand, before I run out of time, we touched upon that topic of having the same education for every child in Pakistan regardless of wealth, background, status. I have a concern with that. I feel that maybe that's putting unfair pressure on parents who may not be literate themselves to try and cope and help their children at home with trying to cope with the syllabus that may be being taught at Froebel's or City School or Grammar School or whatever. Anyway, that's a personal opinion. But the other should we let private sector education stay private and only worry about the public sector right now?
Well, I think if you want to, in my personal opinion, if you really want to have an equity and giving a fair chance to all those the so-called deprived or society of this country, it wouldn't be fair if we do not give the chance by giving a separate system of syllabus to them and giving another syllabus to other person. Yes, I do understand. I do understand.
And A-levels that are
Look, we don't have to give O levels and A levels. We need to have one syllabus. That doesn't have to be O levels. That doesn't have to be A levels. That could be simple matrix system. That could be any system which could be acceptable. Now, I understand. I respect your opinion. I just don't agree with that.
Yeah, we don't have to agree.
Right? Yes.
This is a very old debate. This is not a new debate.
You see, the thing is that if it is an illiterate,
clarity into this
debate. If it is an illiterate parents who's gonna teach the O levels to their kids, if they are illiterate, for them anything would be as good or bad as O levels or A levels.
You know, in Pakistan today, let me clarify, what is the position today? There is a national curriculum. That national curriculum is taught in every government school, and it is taught in the majority of private sector schools. Because this is a myth that private sector schools all teach to the O and A levels. That's a very, very small percentage. So let us talk about the real people of Pakistan, the majority of people of Pakistan. Because political parties represent the majority of the people of Pakistan. They do not represent the O level and A level, small,
which would be what,
elitist
1%
minority.
or 2% of the people?
So let us talk about the fact that today there is a curriculum. Frankly, the Pakistani curriculum is not all that bad. It gets a lot of trashing. There is